Hi, it's Win, and welcome to another educational video by the Entropy System. Classes just kicked off for me last week, and so I thought that now would be an opportune time to discuss how I go to school with a mental disorder. I will admit that since communication with my system has grown, school and work have become exponentially easier for me, but I do still follow a few set rules that I've made for myself to assure that I can do the absolute best that I'm able. The first rule is attendance. Always make it to class when I can. This rule might seem a little obvious for some people, but I know for me there are days where I'm laying in bed, I had a late night the previous night, or maybe I just didn't sleep well, and I'm thinking, man, this 8 o'clock class sucks. I'll just sleep in today. One day won't hurt me. Unfortunately, that one day might hinder me a lot. There are some days where my anxiety is so increased that I'm unable to leave home or sometimes unable to get out of bed, and so I have to skip class. I simply don't have that option. So on a day where I just feel like skipping class, I don't. Ever. Who knows if the next 2 or 3 class days in a row I'm having terrible mental health days. I certainly can't predict when another one will come up. So on a day where I can go to class, where it is possible for me to get out the door, I'm out the door. That means that sometimes I go to class when I'm sick. If I have an upset stomach or a headache or a bad cold, I can still leave the house, and so I do. The second rule I have for myself is taking notes. Taking lots and lots of notes. I even have color-coded pens and highlighters to help me keep better track of the information that I'm learning in class. I don't always need to go back and review the notes that I took from a particular day, but I found that by writing it down, even on days where my anxiety is distracting or I may be dissociating a bit, it at least sticks this much, in opposed to absolutely not at all if I hadn't been taking the notes. Also, I've noticed in myself that if I actually write down what I'm hearing in the lecture, the information passes more easily to Daniel and Kit, who also help me in class sometimes, so that when they are out, they can better recall the information from when I was out, and vice versa, so we can make sure we're all on the same page and getting the best grades that we can. And of course, there are so many studies on how handwriting notes helps you learn more efficiently and faster and all that, so writing notes is just a good idea, period. Rule number 3, medication. Always have it on hand. This is my lorazepam. It is a small pill that's fast acting that I take when I'm having anxiety attacks to help me calm down. I don't have to take this very often, maybe once or twice a month, but on a day where I need it, I need to have it on me, so I always carry it wherever I go. It's better to have it on me 7 weeks in a row for class and not need it than have one day where I have to leave early because anxiety has taken its hold. In addition to my little emergency pills, as I call them, I also have pills that I have to take in the morning and in the evening at specific times. I set reminders for myself to make sure that I never miss a dose. Missing even one dose may not hinder me long term, but it can certainly set me up for failure the next day. Always making sure I take the right pills at the right time in the right dosage is how I set myself up for success. My fourth rule for myself is accessing the university accommodations. There was an early period in school where I was too embarrassed to go to the disability office and ask for accommodations in my class because for some reason I thought that it made me weak or needy or some other negativity I believed about myself. But accommodations offices at universities are there for a reason. They understand that mental and physical disabilities can make it harder for you to do well in classes than other students, and that you may need certain easily met accommodations to have a fair chance. For me, this simply included allowing me to miss class without penalty when I needed to. Next is doing optional work. I always do the optional work. A couple points of extra credit here or there in exchange for a few hours of work may not seem worth it to some people, but for me, I may find myself dissociating during a big exam, and those extra points on that optional work are the difference between a D and a C. If I don't end up needing the extra points, fantastic, that's fine. But if I do need them and I hadn't done the optional work, then that bad grade is pretty much just on me. Next is another obvious one, keeping a regular eating and sleeping schedule. This isn't just good for people with mental health disorders, this is good for everyone. Having a regular schedule where you go to bed, wake up, and eat healthy, filling meals throughout the day is vital to maximize your brain activity. It also helps balance your emotions, and since my emotions and my mental health are tied quite closely together, that's a double benefit for me. Part of this regular eating and sleeping schedule for me also includes watching my caffeine intake. Too much caffeine can set off an anxiety attack for me, so I always keep track of any caffeine I consume. I'll probably have 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and I cut it off there. Finally, I make sure to be gentle with myself. There are days where I can't leave the house, and that's okay. I remind myself that it's not my fault, that it's an actual disability, and I'm not making excuses for myself for being lazy. I remind myself of how hard I've been working in class and how long it's been since my last episode that prevented me from leaving home. I reassure myself that as long as I work hard in the future, I'll be able to make up for this day, and that I'm not going to get in trouble because I've signed up with the accommodations office and I've communicated with my teacher why I need this time off. There are also times where I study my brains out, and because I'm having a bad day on an exam, I end up getting a C. But C is still passing. Would an A have been better? Is this going to hinder my GPA? Probably a little bit, but as long as I can get through the class, I can move forward to the next step of my education. And in the long term, that's all I need. Now, don't get me wrong there, I'm not just settling for a low grade so I don't have to put in the effort. I just understand that sometimes that C is the absolute best I could do, and when I get it, I'm proud of myself. Beating myself up about something I can't control, like my mental health acting up, is ridiculous. It's not going to help me in any way, and it'll probably just make those bad days come more frequently because I'm not giving myself the rest that I need. I know I'm not going to ever graduate with cum laude or be the bright shining star of my department, but I know that I always put my best out for classes, and I know that even on classes that I need to retake or exams that I fail, that I've done my absolute best in the past, and I'm going to continue to do my absolute best in the future. Mental disorders are inhibiting. They suck. They make life harder, especially with something as demanding of your time and energy as school. But that doesn't mean that I have to stay home and give up on my future. I'm going to continue doing the absolute best I can. I've finished my bachelor's, which I honestly didn't think I was going to be able to do during the entire time I was going to class, and now I'm doing prerequisite courses so I can get a science education master's. I hope that this information may help some of you who are struggling to balance your schedule with a mental disorder, and may encourage those of you who are in school and struggling more than your peers. You've got this. Don't give up on yourself. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all again next Monday. Bye!